Story 1. Working late shifts at a downtown office had me riding the elevator alone most nights. Old building, older elevators. One night, around 11, I punched the button for the lobby and leaned back against the cold metal wall, waiting for the doors to close. They slid shut with a creak. Typical. I closed my eyes for just a second, tired from the day's grind. The elevator jolted sharply, nearly knocking me off balance. Opening my eyes, I noticed the floor display blinking erratically. The lights buzzed softly, then steadied, probably just old wiring. When the elevator stopped, the doors opened slowly to an empty hallway. Not the lobby, more like a basement, dimly lit and deserted. Confused, I pressed the lobby button again, firmly. The doors lingered, hesitating, before finally closing. The elevator ascended, but I noticed it was moving slower this time, dragging along. Halfway up, the lights flicked out completely. Pitch black. The mechanical hum of the elevator grew quieter, distant, almost lost. Seconds felt endless in the darkness, and unease crawled across my shoulders. I took out my phone, turning on the flashlight. The pale beam shone across the walls, but nothing unusual stood out. Just reflections in worn steel. Then the elevator paused again. Silence. I pressed every button in reach. Nothing responded. The air was still, heavy. Noticing a thin, cold draft near my ankles, I pointed the flashlight downward. There was a narrow gap between the elevator doors. Was it always there? Before I could inspect further, the elevator lurched downward, hard enough that my stomach clenched painfully. My phone slipped from my grasp, shattering against the floor. Complete darkness again. The elevator came to another sudden stop. The doors inched open. Strangely, the lobby appeared. But it was empty, silent, abandoned. Cautiously stepping out, I glanced around. The usual noise of street traffic was missing, replaced by an eerie quiet. I turned back toward the elevator, but the doors had closed silently behind me. I pressed the call button. Nothing lit up, no sound, no response. It felt colder now. The lobby lights flickered weakly, buzzing softly. Walking quickly toward the exit, I pushed through the revolving door onto the street. Outside, the city was deserted. Streetlights shone dimly on empty sidewalks. Cars parked neatly, no sign of people. I checked my watch. It had stopped at exactly 11. Turning slowly back toward the building, dread tightened in my chest. Through the glass doors, I saw the elevator waiting. Doors open wide, its interior completely dark. And somewhere deep inside it, something shifted silently. Story 2. I used to avoid elevators, especially in older apartment buildings like mine. But moving heavy furniture up 3 flights of stairs wasn't happening. Reluctantly, I pressed the warn button and waited as the elevator shuddered to life. The doors opened with a slow, grinding noise. Inside, a stained carpet and cracked mirrors greeted me. The doors creaked shut. As it began climbing, I stared at the grimy floor numbers ticking by. 4th, 5th, 6th, wait. My building only had 3 floors. Confused, I pressed the button for the 3rd floor repeatedly, but the elevator kept ascending. 7th, 8th, the numbers continued climbing without pause. My breath caught, muscles tightening instinctively. Finally, the elevator stopped at floor 13. display blinked slowly, as if waiting. The doors groaned open to reveal a narrow, dimly lit corridor I'd never seen before. Old wallpaper peeling from stained walls, overhead, lights humming faintly. Hesitantly, I stepped into the corridor, sensing the doors closing silently behind me. Turning sharply, I saw only a blank wall where the elevator had been moments before. Cold panic seeped into my bones. I hurried down the hallway, trying apartment doors. Locked, each handle colder than the last. A draft moved past me, carrying a stale scent I couldn't place. At the corridor's end stood an open door, darkness spilling out. Approaching cautiously, my fingers touched something gritty on the doorframe. Dust. No one had been here in ages. Stepping into the apartment, my eyes adjusted slowly. Furniture, covered in sheets, sat untouched. Photos on the walls were yellowed, faces faded beyond recognition. A sudden, loud metallic clank echoed behind me. Spinning around, I found the hallway empty. Approaching where the elevator should have been, I saw it had returned. Doors open, waiting. Without hesitating, I rushed inside and hammered the ground floor button. The doors sealed shut, and the elevator descended swiftly, rattling violently as it went. When the doors opened, relief flooded me. I was back in my building's lobby. Familiar, safe. Stepping outside into the warm afternoon sun, I paused, breathing deep. A neighbor passed by, nodding casually. "Tough moving day?" he asked, glancing at my boxes. "You could say that," I muttered, turning briefly toward the elevator behind me. Through the doors, still open, I glimpsed the floor display. It read 13, blinking softly, waiting patiently for the next passenger. Story 3. I always found hospitals unsettling, especially late at night when hallways echoed with distant footsteps and machines beeped softly from unseen rooms. Visiting hours ended hours ago, but I'd stayed late with my grandmother, finally leaving her bedside around midnight. Approaching the elevators, I pressed the call button, eyes heavy from exhaustion. One elevator arrived, doors opening soundlessly. Stepping inside, I pressed the button for the ground floor, ready to head home. The elevator descended briefly before stopping abruptly, doors opening to a dark floor I didn't recognize. Hesitating, I peered out into the gloom. The corridor was empty, lit only by dim emergency lighting, casting long shadows on tiled walls. The air had a faint, antiseptic scent. I reached to press the lobby button again, but the panel was unresponsive. Frustrated, I stepped out, searching for stairs. Behind me, the elevator doors closed silently. I turned quickly, startled to see no buttons or signs of elevators, just smooth, featureless walls. A sudden chill brushed past my ankles, and I heard a faint rustling from the far end of the hallway. Warily, I moved toward it, footsteps echoing softly. Passing empty rooms with neatly made beds, untouched equipment sat quietly, as though the floor had been forgotten. At the corridor's end, an open door revealed a patient room unlike the others. Inside, a single bed lay stripped bare, restraints dangling loosely from rails. A pale sheet, crumpled on the floor, moved slightly in a breeze that shouldn't exist. Something shifted quietly in the corner, just beyond my sight. A quiet electronic chime sounded behind me. The elevator had returned. Without Without looking back into the room, I moved quickly down the hall, heart racing as I stepped inside and pressed the lobby button again. This time, the elevator responded immediately, doors closing firmly and descending smoothly. Reaching the ground floor, doors opened onto the well-lit lobby. The familiar receptionist smiled politely, nodding goodnight as I hurried past. Outside, breathing deeply, I turned toward the hospital building, gaze catching the elevator inside, still open, empty, waiting silently. Above it, the floor display blinked steadily, showing a floor number that didn't exist.